This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very excited to speak with Daniel Robbins about Bad Shabbos. How are you, Daniel?
Great. How are you?
Good. I unfortunately missed this film at Tribeca last year. My schedule changed and I couldn't see it. And then I'm glad that it's coming to the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival now because I was very intrigued. You don't hear about a lot of films in the United States that have the word Shabbos in the title.
Yeah, this might be the only one. There's some Sabbaths going around, but I think Shabbos is we stand alone.
Well, I guess that's my first question is, do you feel like this film belongs to a genre of other similar films, or there isn't really something like this?
Um, we weren't really inspired by Jewish specific films, but a lot of films that Jews were a part of. Um, so I think like the main genres that this kind of pulled from are was like the Howard Hawks fast talking comedies of the 40s, like that fast-paced slapstick comedies with some real authenticity and just amazing performances. And then I guess more recently it would be movies like The Birdcage, where it's very similar structured movie with the in-laws meeting for the first time and then the dinner at the climax. And then we tried to make something the spirit of like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Meet the Parents. You know, those comedies that I grew up watching that have a lot of authenticity and heart and tight scripts and just amazing performances, but they also make you laugh out loud and they don't sacrifice any of the heart with it. And we thought if we can get comedy back to that place with it takes a lot of effort and like some degree of thematic cohesion and craft that people would, like comedies again, because it's still my favorite genre. And they just aren't really making them like they used to.
I like that. I've also been watching a number of other films, showing at the festival, and I feel like in Israel you have all these films that deal with, religious observance because it's much more part of the culture there, but they're more often dramas than not. I can think of The Wedding Plan is a great, religious comedy that I feel like otherwise, you don't find too much like that. Have you seen that film?
I actually have not seen it, but if you change planner to singer, it's one of my favorites.
No, it's a great one, but there's a lot of good stuff, and I'm always
Wait, is The Wedding Planner an
interested.
Israeli film or is it the Matthew
Sorry,
McConaughey, Jennifer
The Wedding
Lopez
Plan.
thriller?
There's a filmmaker, Rama Burstein, who made a film called Fill the Void, which was a drama, and then she made this movie, The Wedding Plan, with Noah Kohler, who's actually in another film showing at the festival now. So, again, very specific niche things, and that's also. Do you feel like this is something that can be broadly enjoyed by people, or you get a lot more out of it the more you know?
Um, the goal was My Big Fat Greek Wedding. So our test audiences were mostly not Jewish because the goal was to make something that plays for everyone. And we actually had to pull a couple things back. We've had audiences that are fully Jewish and audiences that are fully not Jewish, and the laughs have been like equally as big. Like the Christian audiences especially love it because they know all of this so well. I'd say if you're Jewish, there's three, like not even like A plus jokes, but like B minus jokes that you'll get. But the experience is mostly the same.
I feel like it doesn't explain that much in a good way. It's not trying to be like, here is what Jewish observance and people who don't really follow Jewish observance, but whose families members do, there is a little bit of that. What were some of the things that you had that you felt were too much that you had to pull back?
Um, there was during the Shabbat dinner, there are a lot of prayers. Like there's Shalom Aleichem, there's Kiddush, and there's passing out the wine. And then, well, actually, and then there's the hand washing. So we cut the hand washing because it didn't really further the story or get a laugh, and everything else in there was doing that. And the goal is to make. I like movies that feel like short stories where if there's a line or a detail, it's there for a reason. It's not just to sprawl. So the movie's like 84 minutes, so we were pretty relentless. And Kate, the editor, did the most amazing job possible.
I know that representation is a key thing these days, and I'm curious how important that was to you that your actors playing Jews were Jewish.
Um, so I wish my answer was like it matters so much to me. We went for authenticity, so that just led us to a place where every role, Jewish role is played by a Jewish actor, and every non-Jewish role is played by a non-Jewish actor, which somehow just worked out. But I'm not like draconian about you need your mom to be a certain way to play a certain role because these actors I've seen them do a wide range of things and they're great in all of it. but yeah, I think it's a good guide, but definitely not a hard rule. And I think people are getting a little too, wild about it.
Was there any sort of learning curve? Did people, understand references in the script and other things, or bring in their own experiences from their lives?
Um, I mean, each actor has their own level of knowledge that they brought. Like Milana Weintraub, she knew all the prayers and like the candle lighting ceremony, so she helped out the rest of the cast, just getting everything right. John Bass also knew Shalom Aleichem really well, so he didn't have to study, but I think the rest of the cast had to watch a couple of YouTube videos on that. But they were all, we had, it wasn't a motto, but everyone knows, like for my horror movies, that it's scarier the realer it feels. In the same way with the comedy, it's funnier the realer it feels. I guess the realer it feels, the funnier it is. So the cast really just aimed for authenticity. So they really, like Kira would ask like how to pronounce specific words to make sure everything is right. So her level of detail just brings, her character fully to life, which is a lot of fun.
I think that's important too, because I feel like for people who do, know the prayers and pronunciations, hearing someone say it wrong just sort of takes you out of the experience. And even if that's not what you go, you want to be universal, but still, it's nice to have that stuff be accurate.
Oh yeah, totally. And I went to yeshiva for 12 years, so I was like the Jewish consultant on set, which helped us save a little bit of money, although the amount my parents spent on tuition, we probably could have hired a few consultants, but they're happy about it.
Do you still have, yeshiva colleagues who have had a chance to see this film?
Oh yeah, all my best friends I went to high school with and middle school. Some of them even helped on the film, visited set, read lines with the actors, had notes on the script. So we're all, really involved.
And overall, they're pleased. I feel like you're not really aiming to offend anybody with this film. You're not mocking religion, just sort of the way that people interact with each other, and that's sort of the backdrop of it.
Yeah, that's true. It's a very loving movie on Judaism, which when you hear the log line, you're like, oh, this must be like lampooning it. But really, if you dig into it, it's about the characters trying to find an equilibrium of how to incorporate religion into their lives. The girl that he's engaged to, it's not like they're trying to get away from Judaism, which I feel like is the goal of some of these movies, but she is converting and they're trying to integrate it and make it work. And I think the cliche of just characters trying to escape religion, I think is tired and doesn't feel true to today, where now a lot of people are a little lonelier and looking for some sources of meaning. And I've seen people, whether Christian, Muslim, Jewish, incorporate more tradition into their lives to give their lives a framework. And I think making a movie along those lines isn't just truer, but is also a little more interesting. But so far people like it, so we'll see. It's a
Was
faith-based
there
movie. That's really the goal. We want to make faith-based movies, get Angel Studios to back us, um, and just go from there.
was there any consideration of having a slightly more, well, I guess English title, or do you feel like that's a barrier to anybody, or it attracts a certain intrigue?
Adam, the producer, came up with the title with the idea when him and Zach spoke, and he has control and he stuck with it. Like some people said, maybe change it. Like people don't know what it is. And we're like, oh, Shiva baby. But then people say, oh, more people know about Shiva than Shabbos. But the main benefit of it is when you say Bad Shabbos to a Jew, they kind of like immediately laugh a little. And then I think for non-Jews, just having the title Bad signifies it's a comedy. And, when you see Kira's in it, John, this great cast, you might watch it anyways, like Bad Moms, Bad Santa. So we think we're there enough. And we tr even tried for other titles and took suggestions, but none of them topped it. So, gotta go with what's best. And we thought Bad Sabbath, but then it sounds like a Black Sabbath documentary. So we couldn't do that. But maybe if they didn't exist, that would have been the title. Maybe.
I always remember my dad talking about how he went to go see Annie Hall in California and no one was laughing because it was very New York humor.
Oh, that's so funny.
And I'm curious, I know that this film premiered at Tribeca, now you're going to Atlanta, you've been in a few festivals in between. Has there been any sort of regional geographic shift in terms of where the laughs come or anything lands?
Thankfully, no, because that was the accusation we got. After you win the audience award at Tribeca, you think everything's amazing, but then a couple people say, "Oh yeah, but it's New York. Of course, it's going to work in New York. It's like a New York story." So then we got into the Cordillera International Film Festival in Reno, Nevada. And Zach, the writer, and I took two flights to go out there because we're like, we got to see how this plays. Very few Jews in Reno. Uh, and we went and it screened, and the reaction was like just as crazy. And then when the audience award there and the jury award, and the crowd was like coming up after, like, how do you pronounce Shabbos? Oh, do you really turn your phones off? It's so funny. Oh, this moment was like so great. So I think, through all the test screenings, because we tested a lot, like probably 10 screenings total, like we got it to a place where it's working for everyone. Having said that, if you're from New York or no New York, that's the difference of if you laugh at Gary Greengrass's cameo from Barney Greengrass. Because if you shop at the store, it's actually him. So when we showed in New York and Florida, which is basically New York in hotter weather, they laugh at that. But, elsewhere, he's just an actor.
I also appreciated from the New York part of it, the idea of lying about driving in, and then driving back. Because I also remember finding out that in New York, the alternate side of the street parking, restrictions are actually relaxed on all Jewish holidays, like
Yeah.
even some of the minor ones when observant Jews wouldn't be moving their cars. Just an interesting little factoid that is like, again, a very niche thing. It's like if you're driving in for Simchat Torah, you can park on any, on the alternate side street parking stuff.
Yeah, that is a pro tip. And there are some other non-Jewish holidays that make it in there, but the Jewish holidays really conquer it because most religions you can drive no matter the holiday. And it is a really happy moment if you're a Jewish person. One of the things you can do to benefit societies on those alternate street parking days when you know that it's a holiday. When you tell other people, it's the best feeling in the world. Like they get in their car, they wake up at 9, they're like, oh, you don't have to wait. They're like, what do you mean? Uh, it's a gift. Maybe like someone should just walk the streets with like a kippah and just patrol on their way to shul. That could be nice. I don't know if that's enough for like a movie, but maybe for like an Instagram video.
Well, you seem pleased with the fact the movie is only 84 minutes, so I imagine that this is the sum total of the story you wanted to tell, but is there more this kind of theme that you want to explore in the future?
Um, yeah, I think there are three ideas of what's next. One is very close to this, where it's family dynamics with kind of a thriller plot line, but the other two are just broader comedies. But yeah, it's just about, trying to make comedies that we want to see and that hopefully people respond, and comedies that are short because, I'm big on 90-minute runtime, especially for comedy, like stand up. Even the funniest comedian, once you get over 90 minutes, like the audience is going to start fading. And I think, if Chappelle keeps it to 90, like who am I to try to push it to 2 hours?
I'd also say, as a frequent festival goer, try to see as much as possible. The 90 minutes is crucial. If you have too many 120-minute movies, you're not going to be able to fit enough in a day. It just doesn't work.
Right. It also helps that like one of my best friends, Mikey Gelfand, is big on 90 minutes, and another best friend's dad, David Goldschmidt, is big on 90 minutes. And they always drill that in. So, if you have to see these people a lot, you don't want them complaining.
You also mentioned your horror background. Do you have a desire to, do Jewish horror in the future? Some like Golem or, Crusades, something. Not this, those are obviously very different, but
Yeah, like people always like discuss Jewish horror idea. If someone comes up with a great one, I'd be down. But I think for me to do a horror movie, it would probably have to also be a little fun because like I don't think I'm capable of doing anything close to Nosferatu. Like that is just a tone that is beyond me. And it's an amazing movie. But if there's a Jewish angle that has some, fun characters, I could imagine it happening down the road. But let me know if you have any ideas.
I'm not a big horror guy. I'm a big Jewish movie guy, but horror Nosferatu I did see, but it's one of the few. So the wrong person for that, I think. So this film is playing in Atlanta. What's next? Is there distribution? Is there a release planned? Or are we still waiting on that?
Um, well, we're really excited for Atlanta. It's the one Jewish film festival where our cast is coming down because it's their 25th year anniversary. And our distributor, Menemsha, like made a big deal of it and how prestigious the festival is. And they have over 10, like 2,000 people coming, which I'll believe it when I see it, but no, I believe it. And our distributor is Menemsha Films. And we mainly talk to Neil and his partner Heidi, who works there. And they've been like out of this world, unbelievable with the movie because they're the only ones who we're really going to push for a theatrical where, we had other offers. We'll put it in theaters for a weekend or two and then flip it to streaming. But Neil saw how this played in the theater and how crazy the audience went. And he's like, no, I think we could actually do like real theatrical, like long tail indie theatrical and make it work. So he knows like specific theaters and specific communities where it'll play. So like he picked one theater in Delray, Florida, and it passed 100K on $8 tickets, which is like crazy. Like that's how much we'd probably do if we went with another distributor in 200 theaters. But he knows that for an indie to work in theaters, you can't just spray all at once, but you have to like snowball over time and gradually build the word of mouth, almost like a Broadway play. And he had this plan, and it's one thing to have a plan, but he's executed it perfectly. So it's everyone's really happy and grateful that they took it on.
Great. Well, I always like to ask people I'm talking to, what have you seen lately that you really enjoyed? Just not to talk about awards contenders, etc. But I'm curious, since we're talking this, any Jewish films you've seen recently that have really stuck with you?
The answer has to be yes. Nothing's like popping to mind right now. Damn, I'm ashamed that nothing's at the top of my mind.
That's what we can pivot to just general. Anything you've seen recently that you really like?
Um, oh, I guess The Brutalist is a Jewish movie. I saw The Brutalist and that it lived up to the hype. I mean, first half is, big S tier and second half is still strong, but just to make a movie with that level of craft and detail on a budget is crazy. So that was, and I'm still thinking about it and like different scenes and different takeaways. So that's really stuck with me. I hope it wins Best Picture, but it seems like Anora is, making it won the PGA, DGA. It's tough to come back from that Critics' Choice, but we'll see.
It's not a done deal yet, but I do have it as number three. I think Conclave as the number two spot. So
Oh, because it
we'll have to.
won BAFTA.
Yeah, and it probably will win SAG. We'll see. It's a question
Okay,
mark.
so I
But don't
shouldn't
give
bet
up.
on the Brutalist, is what you're saying.
I think it might win Best Director and Best Actor, Best Cinematography. That's what I'm seeing right now. But it's a race. This year is a little bit wilder. So
Okay, so I'm gonna exit that Brutalist bet.
that's my take. But who knows? We'll see what happens. It's still possible. So,
Okay,
but
I'll
I
hedge it.
uh, I appreciate your time, Daniel. Thank you so much for this fun conversation. I'm excited for everyone in Atlanta to see this, and hoping
Mhm.
many more people get to see it soon.
Yeah, Sam. Thanks, Abe. It's great meeting you, man.